not even mean Bowers game.
Here, YouTube, I'm back again today for another Listen to the Rules, and today I'm reading the rules for King of Tokyo. This is for 2 to 6 players, ages 8+, take you 30 minutes to play. First, the contents of the box. 1 set of rules, 1 Tokyo board, 66 cards, 28 counters, including 3 smoke, 1 mimic, 12 shrink, and 12 poison, 8 dice, including 6 black and 2 green, 6 monster boards, 6 cardboard figures plus 6 plastic stands, and a bunch of energy cubes. The goal of the game is to become King of Tokyo. The game is over when a monster earns 20 victory points, or if it is the last monster standing. Setting up. Each player chooses a monster. Take its figure, its monster board, and set its life points to 10 and its victory points to 0. Place the Tokyo board in the center of the table, within easy access of every player. It represents the city of Tokyo, divided into 2 distinct places, Tokyo City and Tokyo Bay. Every time a card refers to Tokyo, it refers to both places. At the beginning of the game, nobody is in Tokyo, so no monsters are on the board. If this is your first game, or if there are 4 players or fewer, you will only use Tokyo City. For a 5 or 6 player game, also use Tokyo Bay. Shuffle the cards to form a deck and deal the first 3 cards face up on the table next to the deck and the counters. Put the 6 black dice in the middle of the table and set the green ones aside. They will be used only with special cards. Finally, form a pool with all the energy cubes. Game overview. Each player rolls the 6 black dice. The player who gets the most attack or claw symbols goes first. Note, throughout the rules, players will be referred to as monsters. Starting with the first player, each monster takes a turn and then the turn goes to the next player to the left. A turn consists of the following in the given order. Turn overview. 1. Rolling and re-rolling the dice. 2. Resolving the dice. 3. Buying cards. And 4. The end of your turn. Step 1. Rolling and re-rolling the dice. On your turn, you roll all 6 dice. Then you can re-roll any or all of the dice twice. Dice kept on the first re-roll can be kept again or re-rolled on the second re-roll. Step 2. Resolving the dice. The symbols you get at the end of your rolling step are the actions for this turn. Dice overview. The dice bear the following symbols. The 1, 2, 3, and these are for victory points. The lightning bolt, which represents energy. The claw, which is attack. And then the heart, which is healing. The dice effects are as follows. For victory points, if a triple 1, 2, or 3 is rolled, a monster scores that many victory points. That is, 3 3s are worth 3 points, not 9 points. Each additional roll of that type is worth 1 extra point. Energy. Each energy result allows the monster to take an energy cube. There is no need to roll triples. Energy cubes can be saved from turn to turn. Attack. Each attack results in a point of damage dealt to monsters who are not in the same place as you. If you are in Tokyo, Tokyo City, or Tokyo Bay, when you get a claw, you deal damage to all the monsters who are not in Tokyo. If you are outside Tokyo when you get the claw, you deal damage to all the monsters who are in Tokyo, both Tokyo City and Tokyo Bay. Each damage results in the loss of 1 life. If a monster loses its last life, it is out of the game. The first monster in the game to obtain at least 1 claw deals no damage, but instead takes control of Tokyo and moves its figure to Tokyo City. Heal. Each heart allows a monster to heal 1 lost life. A monster can't go above 10 health. Card description. The cost of a card is in the upper left-hand corner, and it is paid in accumulated energy cubes. How to play the card is indicated above the description of the effect. Whenever you see the keep on a card, that means monsters keep these cards for the remainder of the game. Sometimes the card will indicate it is discarded under certain circumstances. However, when you see a discard on a card, that means monsters immediately resolve these and then discard them. And you can see the effect of the card down here on the bottom. 3. Buying cards. Optionally, after the dice are resolved, a monster may purchase any of the 3 face-up cards. 2 energy points can also be spent to sweep or discard all the shown cards and reveal 3 new cards. Purchases and sweeps can be done in any order and as long as a monster has energy to spend. Example, Kraken has 10 energy and doesn't want any of the 3 available cards. He spends 2 energy and discards them, revealing 3 new ones. Now he has 8 energy and he sees a 3 energy card he wants. He purchases it and reveals a new one. He has 5 energy left and decides to save it for another turn. Purchase cards are immediately replaced from the top of the deck. You will always have 3 cards to buy from. Next, we get to the end of your turn. Some card effects are resolved during this step. It is the end of your turn. Hand the dice to the player on your left. Becoming King of Tokyo. At the start of the game, no monster is in Tokyo. If Tokyo is unoccupied, the first monster to obtain at least one claw takes control of Tokyo and places his figure in Tokyo without dealing any damage. If you are attacked while in Tokyo and you don't want to be there anymore, and who can blame you, it could be rough, you can yield to the monster that attacked. He has to take your place. You still take the damage, however. If you are eliminated by an attack on Tokyo, the monster who attacked you automatically takes control of Tokyo. Warning, a discard card that deals damage to you is not an attack. If you are eliminated by such a card, nobody takes your place and Tokyo becomes unoccupied. When playing with 5 or 6 monsters, you may have 2 monsters in Tokyo at the same time. Effects of Tokyo. Being in Tokyo, Tokyo City, or Tokyo Bay has some advantages and disadvantages. When taking control of Tokyo, you gain 1 star, aka 1 victory point. When starting the turn in Tokyo, you gain 2 victory points. The monster in Tokyo cannot use the heart result on the dice to heal, but can heal using cards. Targets of your attack depend also on where you are. Claws by the monster in Tokyo City and Tokyo Bay deal damage to all the monsters not in Tokyo. Claws by monsters outside Tokyo deal damage only to the monsters in Tokyo City and Tokyo Bay. Now we're going to jump up here to a dice resolution example. It is Gigazor's turn. He's not in Tokyo. He takes the dice and rolls 1, 2, 3, 3, heart, lightning bolt. He rerolls everything but the 3, 3 and gets 3, 3, 2, 2, 2, claw. He has one more reroll and this time decides to reroll the 2 3s in the claw and he ends up with 2, 2, 2, 2, lightning bolt, claw. Now resolving the dice. Since he has triple 2, he scores 2 victory points, plus an additional 1 victory point for the additional 2 for a total of 3 victory points. Gigazor gets 1 energy cube for his energy die. Gigazor also rolled 1 claw. Cyber Bunny is currently in Tokyo, so Cyber Bunny loses 1 heart. Had Gigazor been in Tokyo, all monsters outside of Tokyo would have lost 1 heart. Gigazor didn't get any heart, but he didn't need any since he was already at 10 health. Gigazor doesn't buy any cards. He hands the dice to the player on his left. Winning the game. The game is over when a monster scores 20 victory points or is the last monster standing. The monster who gains 20 stars or is the last one standing wins the game and is crowned King of Tokyo. Advanced rules. Tokyo Bay. Rules for 5 to 6 experienced monsters. When playing with 5 or 6 monsters, add Tokyo Bay to the game. This position opens up a little extra room in Tokyo, which is nice with a lot of monsters. Monsters in either Tokyo City or Tokyo Bay are considered in Tokyo. After a monster that is not in Tokyo attacks, it must take control of Tokyo if either Tokyo City or Tokyo Bay are unoccupied or abandoned. If there is a choice, Tokyo City must be occupied first. As in a regular game, the monster who takes control of Tokyo City while it is unoccupied doesn't deal damage. If Tokyo Bay is unoccupied, monsters who attack Tokyo inflict damage on the monster that occupies Tokyo City and then takes control of Tokyo Bay, unless the monster in Tokyo City decides to flee, in which case the attacking monster takes control of Tokyo City. Tokyo Bay grants the same advantages and disadvantages as Tokyo City. If the monster in Tokyo Bay is attacked, it can choose to abandon Tokyo Bay, still taking any damage dealt, just like Tokyo City. In this case, the monster that attacked must move in unless it is moving into Tokyo City, in which case Tokyo Bay becomes temporarily unoccupied. A monster can never occupy both Tokyo City and Tokyo Bay at the same time. If a monster is eliminated, and that brings the number of monsters below 5, Tokyo Bay can't be occupied anymore. The monster in it must leave Tokyo. Any card that refers to Tokyo applies to both Tokyo City and Tokyo Bay. Understanding the cards. When a card says a number followed by a star, it indicates how many victory points the buyer gets. For example, when skyscrapers are bought, they are discarded and the buyer gains 4 stars. It is possible for a player to get 20 stars and be eliminated on the same turn due to cards. You must survive the turn to claim victory. It is also possible for all monsters to be eliminated at once. Too bad, you all lose. A card cannot put a monster over 10 health unless it specifically says it can. Example of a 5-player game. Gigazor is in Tokyo City. Kraken is in Tokyo Bay. The King, Mecha Dragon, and Cyber Bunny are the other monsters. Mecha Dragon rolls 4 claws. Both Gigazor and Kraken take 4 damage. Both abandon Tokyo, and so Mecha Dragon takes control of Tokyo City and gains 1 star. Tokyo Bay is unclaimed. Now it is Gigazor's turn. He obtains 1 claw. It is dealt only to Mecha Dragon since no one is in Tokyo Bay. Mecha Dragon stays in Tokyo City, and since Tokyo Bay is unoccupied, Gigazor must take control of it and gains 1 star. If Mecha Dragon had abandoned Tokyo City, Mecha Dragon would have taken control of that instead and left Tokyo Bay unclaimed. Cyber Bunny then rolls 1 claw. It is dealt to Gigazor and Mecha Dragon. Gigazor abandons Tokyo Bay, but Mecha Dragon holds on to Tokyo City. Cyber Bunny must move into Tokyo Bay and gains 1 star. The King and Kraken roll no attacks on their turns. On his turn, Mecha Dragon gains 2 stars for starting his turn in Tokyo. Then he rolls 3 claws. It is dealt to Gigazor, the King, and Kraken, but not Cyber Bunny since he is in Tokyo Bay, and monsters in Tokyo don't attack each other. Gigazor is eliminated by this damage. There are only 4 players left, and Tokyo Bay can't be occupied anymore, leaving Mecha Dragon in Tokyo and Cyber Bunny, the King, and Kraken outside of Tokyo. Glossary. Reroll. When a card says reroll, it means an additional reroll during the monster's turn of as many dice as the monster wants unless the card specifies that only a single die is rolled. Damage means you lose hearts. Attack/attacking monster. A monster is considered attacking when it has at least 1 claw. Otherwise, it is not attacking. This means that a card which increases damage of an attack will not bring damage from 0 to 1 if you don't have a claw. If an attack somehow ends up doing no damage, due to camouflage for example, then it is no longer considered an attack for the purpose of cards like Poison, Spit, or Herbivore. If a card deals damage when purchased, like Gas Refinery, this is not considered an attack. Monsters cannot yield Tokyo based on this damage, and cards that affect attacks do not affect these cards. Yielding Tokyo/fleeing. A monster can leave Tokyo, yield his place, to the monster who just attacked him. If a card allows a monster to leave Tokyo with no damage from an attack, the attacker still occupies Tokyo. Eliminated. When you have 0 hearts, you are eliminated. But that's the rules for King of Tokyo. If this helped you out, please consider giving it a thumbs up. Also consider subscribing, supporting the Patreon. But go have some fun, and thanks for your time, YouTube. This video is brought to you by all of my amazing Patreon supporters, and I would love it if you would join their ranks and have your name immortalized in the end of many of my videos for the end of time. But consider for only $1 a month, and as always, thanks for stopping by.